Have you ever considered that you might be living with gastroparesis? Hi, I'm Luke, lead dietitian at Active Health Clinic, and today I wanted to take you through a quick explanation of what this condition is, some of the things that you might notice that might be an indicator that you live with this condition, and what to do, or the next steps if you feel like you do live with gastroparesis. So essentially, gastroparesis comes from a mix of two words: gastro, which is just indicating the stomach, and paresis, which means slowing or stopping. So essentially what this word is describing is the slowing or total stopping of food flowing through your stomach region. Now, this can cause some pretty obvious issues. If food is not flowing through your stomach, it's not getting into your intestines where most of our nutrients are absorbed, and it's also probably causing some very uncomfortable sensations. Now, generally, the first thing that people will notice is that they feel full really quickly, which makes sense. If we're filling up that stomach cavity and it's not able to move through as efficiently or effectively, we might start to experience some pain in the stomach region. We might start to experience some bloating or distension, where that stomach is sort of protruding a little bit. We might also experience some nausea if that food is not moving through like it should, and in the most extreme of cases, might also experience some regurgitation of that food back up the esophagus and into the mouth, or even some vomiting, which is obviously not very pleasant. This will be accompanied by a general lack of appetite. So one might wake up in the morning feeling hungry with gastroparesis, but that's pretty quickly satiated with a small amount of breakfast, and then over the day, we may struggle to get hungry again simply because that food isn't moving through like it should be. We might also notice that there's a difference in the type of food that one with gastroparesis actually enjoys or naturally leans towards simply because it moves through faster. One thing that we do note is that there is a difference between gastroparesis with solid foods and gastroparesis with liquid foods. And as we'll talk about in a minute, the testing for those is slightly different. Now, a lot of people with gastroparesis will have this slow transit of the stomach only to solid foods. So they might prefer to have liquid foods, might be smoothies, shakes. It might also be really soft foods like mashed potatoes. They might be able to get these through quite easily and with a limited amount of pain or other symptoms compared to what they might do with more solid foods. They might also enjoy more simple meals over more complex meals. So they might often have meals with just one type of food in them and naturally lean towards those over some of our more hearty dishes that we might expect to have for our lunches and dinners. Now, in terms of testing, we need to go through a gastroenterologist, which is a medical specialty you've probably heard of, for the testing of these conditions. What they'll do is do a gastric transit test, where you'll have a test meal with some dye in it, and you'll eat it, and then they'll monitor how quickly that actually goes from your mouth through your stomach and into your small intestine. And they'll also do the same thing with a liquid test as well, to assess the difference between that solid and that liquid transit. Now, these are often very different, so it's important to get both of those tests done to make sure that we really have a handle over what your stomach is struggling to move through. The diagnosis will also come from that gastroenterologist based on the results of this test. Now, when you've had that done, the gastroenterologist, if you do live with gastroparesis, will probably give you a few really simple tips around your food intake. If you happen to have gastroparesis to solids and not liquids, obviously, they'll ask you to move towards a more liquid diet. But really, to get more information about how often you should be eating, what sort of foods you should be including and excluding if you do live with gastroparesis, and how to most effectively reach your nutrition requirements with gastroparesis, you'll want to come and see a dietitian, whether that be us or somewhere else. It's really important that we get your food intake back to a point where you're actually nourishing your body correctly again. chances are, if you've lived with gastroparesis for quite a while, there's probably been a lot of time where you haven't been doing that. And to get you back to your full function, it's really important that we go through that process. So if you feel like you might live with gastroparesis, please feel free to reach out to us at the clinic or to your gastroenterologist to organise some testing or get a referral or a recommendation for that testing. And then be really mindful that after this process has been completed, there are a lot of things that we can do to help. As usual, take care, be safe, and happy eating.